Hello everybody, I am Marwa Ramadani, a student of Information Technology in Altanbash University, Istanbul, Turkey. Today, we will talk about solve Hamiltonian path problem by using K-nearest neighbor algorithm. So, in our contents, we have introduction. We will talk about K-nearest neighbor algorithm. We will talk about graph theory, Hamiltonian path, Hamiltonian circuit, Hamiltonian path problem, the traveling salesman problem, and we will talk about results. We will mention about conclusion and future works. What is K-nearest neighbor algorithm? It is an effortless but predictive machine learning algorithm. It is effective for classification as well as regression. It is more widely used for classification prediction. KNN or K-nearest neighbor algorithm groups the data into coherent clusters or subsets and classifies the newly inputted data based on its similarity with previously trained data. The input is assigned to a class with which is shared the nearest neighbor. K-nearest neighbor is effective. It has many weaknesses. In this paper, we highlight the KNN or K-nearest neighbor algorithm method and its modified versions available in previously done research. As we mentioned, we will talk about graph theory, Hamiltonian path, Hamiltonian circuit, Hamiltonian path problem, the traveling salesman problem. What is graph theory? Graph theory is a branch of mathematics concerned with networks of points connected by lines. The subject of graph theory had its beginnings in recreational math problem, but it has grown into a significant area of mathematical research, application in chemistry, operation research, in social science, and computer sciences. What is Hamiltonian path? A Hamiltonian path is called a Hamilton path. It is a type of graph in graph theory. Hamiltonian path is a graph path between two vertices of graph that visits each vertex exactly once. If a Hamiltonian path exists whose endpoints are adjacent, then the resulting graph cycle is called a Hamiltonian cycle. What is the meaning of Hamiltonian circuit? It is a Hamiltonian path that is a cycle. Determining whether such path and cycle exists in graphs is the Hamiltonian path problem. What we means about Hamiltonian path problem? In graph theory, the Hamiltonian path problem and the Hamiltonian cycle problem are problems of determining whether a Hamiltonian path, a path in an undirected or directed graph that visits each vertex exactly once, or a Hamiltonian cycle exists in each graph. The Hamiltonian cycle problem is a special case of the traveling salesman problem, obtained by setting the distance between two sides to 1 if they are adjacent and 2 otherwise, and verifying that the total distance traveled is equal to n. The traveling salesman problem. What that means? Ask the following question. given a list of sites and the distance between each pair of sites. What is the shortest possible route that visits each city exactly once and returns to the origin city? The origins of traveling salesman problem are unclear. A handbook for traveling salesman from 1832 mentions the problem and includes example tours through Germany and Switzerland, but contains no mathematical treatments. In result, we will talk about solve Hamiltonian path problem by using k-nearest neighbor algorithm, and we will talk about k-nearest neighbors. Solve Hamiltonian path problem by using KNN or k-nearest neighbor algorithm. Unfortunately, no one has found an efficient and optimal algorithm to solve the traveling salesperson problem. It seems unlikely anyone ever will. Now we will look at the k-nearest neighbor algorithm, and we will talk about it to know how we can solve this problem. K-nearest neighbors is a machine learning technique and algorithm that can be used for both regression and classification tasks. K-nearest neighbors examines the label of chosen number of data points surrounded a target data point in order to make prediction about the class that the data point falls into k-nearest neighbors, as we are showing in this figure. Nearest neighbor algorithm for solving traveling salesman person problem. First, select a starting point. Second, move to the nearest unvisited vertex using the edge with smallest weight. Third, repeat until the circuit is completed. Here, we will talk about coding to solve Hamiltonian path problem by using KNN. After the research we conducted based on previous studies, we came to the closest possible solution to the problem through the following the code, which was programming in a Python language. Here it is a part of our coding which programmed by Python language. I will show you now by application, by implementation, how it's work, but I will explain it quickly. As we are showing in this graph, we have edges. All of them have a distance between each other. Here, between 1, 2, weight 100, 1, 3, 200, 1, 4, 158, 1, 5, 175, extra till the end of the X. So here we have conditions. If we will take this path, Hamiltonian path, between first edge to second, we will print this weight. If we will take this path, Hamiltonian path between edge 1 and edge 3, the weight will be 200 extra. Here, in this code, I will show you now the implementation of this. By Jupyter, we will type our code. Sorry. This is our code. Here we import the data. Here we determine all of edges, and we gave them the weight, the number, and the path, Hamiltonian path, and the weight between them. And here pose its position for all nodes, seeds for its a position for all nodes. Okay. Here, after this, we mentioned also by this condition. Now I will do implementation for this code. This is our code implementation. Note this figure 1, graph 1, it's for the first part of our code. Here, this figure 2 for the second part of our code after condition. This will make like a loop. In our conclusion, what we should know. Hamiltonian path is a simple path in a graph that passes through every vertex exactly once. Is called a Hamiltonian path. Hamiltonian circuit is a simple circuit in a graph that passes through every vertex exactly once. Is called a Hamiltonian circuit. K-nearest neighbor algorithm is an effortless but predictive machine learning algorithm, effective for classification as well as regression. What is our future works? In this paper, we present a new sufficient condition for a graph to process a Hamiltonian path. The natural extension to this research should be to continue this approach, if possible, to generalize the cases. Also, since our condition is for Hamiltonian path, only another direction would be to try for similar conditions for Hamiltonian cycle. K-nearest neighbor algorithm classification is a general technique to learn classification based on an instance and don't have to develop an abstract model from the training data set. However, the classification process could be very expensive because it needs a computer, the similarity values individually between the test and training examples. K-nearest neighbor classifier also suffers from the scaling issue. It computes the proximity among the test example and the training example to perform classification. If the attributes have different scales, the proximity distance might be dominated by one on the attribute, which is not good. This is all about our research about Hamiltonian path problem by using k-nearest neighbor algorithm. Thank you for your listening